So, as some of you guys may or may not know, about a week or two ago I was actually at E3 properly, which was really exciting for someone like me. E3 is one of those bucket list things that I've had since I was a kid. I remember reading about E3 in magazines, watching E3 on G4 year after year after year, and I always said, man, wouldn't it be cool if I could go to E3 one day? That dream came true, man. I actually got to go to E3, and it was a really cool experience. I loved it. Now, I've been going to gaming conventions like PAX for many years, and I'm telling you, E3 was a totally different beast, and I think by design, clearly. So while the next Judge Mathas is kind of in the works right now, and by works I mean the final stages of editing and being prepped for launch maybe next week, I think, I wanted to do one video in between while I wait for Judge Mathas to finish up. It's in the hands of my editor right now, and I'm going to be looking at the first draft of it about Monday, so hopefully by Friday I'll be good to go with the Judge Mathas. But like I said, I didn't want to keep you guys waiting. You guys really enjoyed the top 5 dead MMOs that I did, so I wanted to give you guys my favorite games that I saw at E3. Now, my one rule for this list is that I had to have at least seen the game hands-on, or at least sat down with the developers while they played and been able to ask questions. So games like Horizon Zero Dawn, I believe it's called, or God of War are not on the list because I've only gotten to see what you guys have gotten to see. I wasn't able to ask any in-depth questions or put some hands-on time with it. And there may be some games on this list that you may not have been expecting. I know there are 2 on here that I thoroughly did not expect to be putting on this list. So, with that said, enjoy my top 5 favorite games of E3.
She's back.
I didn't expect to be putting Resident Evil 7 down on this list, honestly. Not just because Resident Evil 6 was an abomination to the horror franchise, or that the last scary Resident Evil game was arguably 3 or 4, but because I hadn't even gotten to play the PT-inspired demo until I got home from E3. The internet had been abuzz for days trying to figure out its latent mysteries before I even got home to see it for myself, and after playing, I walked away very impressed. Ever since Konami, cursed be their name, decided to trash PT and every inch of its existence from the internet, people have been clamoring for a good horror game. For the longest time, AAA developers have been afraid to give us a horror game, and instead gave us action-infused horror to sate us, until recently. Hell, look at Resident Evil 6 as a prime example of that, and the Dead Space franchise after the first one. Even the first one is pretty action-infused. But Resident Evil 7, so far at least, has the makings of what could be the next great AAA horror title. The demo contains a mysterious story, multiple endings, atmosphere, tension, well-paced jump scares, and answers that leave you with more questions. I cannot wait to see what Capcom has in store for us when the game is finished and released. And as long as they stay on track with what they have, we're in for a hell of a treat. And to continue with the theme of games I didn't expect to put on this list is Vampire. Or if you like me, you see the name and really have the urge to say Vampire. This is coming from the developers of Life is Strange, that adventure game that happened in multiple episodes, very Telltale-esque in that your decisions help form the way the story is told. But Vampire is very different. Vampire sees you playing a man in 1800s England, I think, torn between trying to save his town from an illness, destroying it from the inside out, or feeding on those same people to gain power and strength to combat the vampire hunters that are also trying to destroy him and others like him in the process. Decision making seems to be the central theme and point in this game, where each choice you make has rippling consequences in the world. Each NPC is tied to another NPC within the same town, so feeding and killing on one can create tidal waves of changes within the town itself that you'll then have to deal with and adapt to. As a huge fan of gothic games like this, and of RPGs in general, and recently having played through Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, another game that lets you play as a vampire in a world where your decisions matter has me hook, line, and sinker. I walked away super excited for this game, impressed with what I saw, and eager to see more. I'd keep your eyes very close on Vampire. There was a game that I enjoyed many, many years ago, back in the PS2 era. Despite it being actually kind of bad, I actually continued to go back to and played because the idea of it really intrigued me. It had some very interesting concepts and ideas. And that game was The Godfather. Just the theme of starting as a low-level grunt in the Mafia and then slowly but surely gaining power and territories was fun enough that I could overlook its plethora of flaws. And I hadn't played many games like it before. But again, it was bad. However, Mafia III looks to come out swinging with this very idea. Betrayed by your own family and starting from zero, it's your job to take territory after territory while building your own Mafia family from the ground up and divvy that territory up between your underbosses, who, depending on how much land you give them, could start infighting or even possibly turn on you and have to be dealt with personally. A gorgeous open world set in a 1960s-inspired New Orleans, some phenomenal voice acting showcased, and a downright gory crime thriller story set in the backdrop, Mafia 3 had my full attention from the word go. One of the biggest issues Mafia 2 had was a large open world that was lifeless and served no purpose. You drove around from mission to mission, and while the story for the game was really good, it felt like it was forced into an open world for the sake of having the selling point open world game. With Mafia 3 being open world as well, I'm a bit reserved in hoping that they can truly take advantage of its setting and create a world both worth exploring and putting dozens of hours into doing the side missions. Fingers crossed, Mafia 3 could be a huge hit. It seems like every company in existence is attempting to create and follow in the footsteps of Blizzard and jump into that sweet, sweet cash train of free-to-play card games. We've already seen Scrolls, Hex, Soulforge, and now even Bethesda has an Elder Scrolls card game in the oven to try and capitalize on it. So when I heard that CD Projekt Red was creating a standalone Gwent game based on The Witcher 3's own minigame, I immediately walked in with huge reservations. And yet, here I am, putting it as my number 2 favorite game I saw at E3, and I'm incredibly excited about it. It really looks like CD Projekt Red took the idea and gave it a vast amount of thought, polish, and a bunch of attention before creating the game. Here's what we know. First, it'll be free to play with the ability to purchase card packs, much like other free-to-play card games lately. Next, there will be loads of single-player side stories focused around Geralt and his companions layered on top of the card game itself that will be fully voice-acted, have a top-down camera angle, and art that reminded me of a mix kind of between Darkest Dungeon and the Banner Saga, especially the Banner Saga when it came to the exploration stage. There will be the trademark decision-making needed from the player that will change and shift how the stories are told, exploring the open world and finding secrets will reward the player with cards, and when the time for combat comes in the single-player experience, it will be done with Gwent. Multiplayer has been rebalanced completely from the ground up to ensure it remains competitive, with new mechanics being brought in and old mechanics being overhauled completely. Everything from the art, the single-player experience, the balancing being done by the devs, and the attention to what made Gwent so fun in Witcher 3 makes this one of my absolute standout games from E3. It's here. It's finally here. After decades of waiting and begging and crying, we're finally getting Banjo Kazooie III. Nope. Listen, I got a solid 30 minutes of game time with the kickstarted Yooka-laylee by Platonic Games, a group of old devs who brought us some of the most iconic platformers of the old N64 era, including Banjo Kazooie and Donkey Kong 64. Suffice to say, I went into this one with really high hopes. And even with those high hopes, I was absolutely blown away. The entire time I sat there, I was grinning from ear to ear like a stupid kid. The game itself is gorgeous as hell and would look exactly like a Banjo game would look nowadays. Oh god, and the music! Grant Kirkhope still has that magical touch. I cannot wait to get my hands on this game. It is everything I was hoping it would be and more so far. And I know I'm praising it with only 30 minutes of experience with it so far, but man, Yooka-Laylee is exactly what I wanted out of this game, and they're truly living up to their potential so far. Keep your eyes on this game. I promise you, if you are a fan of the older Banjo games, this looks like it will not disappoint. E3 was a blast. I absolutely adored being there for every second that I was able to attend. I saw more games than I ever expected to. It was just really, really fun. But I'm more curious what you guys thought of E3 this year. If you followed it in any way, read about it, watched streams, let me know in the comments section what your favorite game of E3 was, because I'm curious to see if your favorites line up with what I'm excited for. It better be Yooka-Laylee. That's all I'm saying. Just Yooka-Laylee. Looks great. Looks freaking great. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to watch another video like this, you can go check out my top 5 dead MMOs, or you can head over to the Mathas Games channel for daily gameplay videos, or just stick around and hit subscribe because another Judge Mathas show is right around the corner, and it is one of my favorite ones I've ever made. I hope you guys are excited about it. I'm excited to show you. Thank you guys so much for the support, and I'll see all of you guys next time. Bye-bye.